Hello and welcome again to our reading of Mark's Gospel. We're up to chapter 9, verse 42. And Jesus has just been talking about who is the greatest amongst you and who is not for us, is against us. And now we get this last section here, which is also in Matthew and Luke's Gospel. Kai Hosan, whoever causes to stumble, scandalizdomai, or scandalizo. This is an aorist subjunctive here after the indefinite hosan. It means to put a stumbling block in the way. So whoever causes to stumble one of these little ones, believing, and then in square brackets, in me, because that's not in the best manuscripts, it is good for him, malon, so rather, if a moulos onikos, this is a large donkeyed millstone. The onikos is an adjective here, drawn by a donkey, and a moulos is a millstone. So if a large millstone drawn by a donkey literally lies around his neck. So if is placed around his neck, and bebletai, he is thrown into the sea. So this is a perfect passive here, and he might be thrown into the sea. And if your hand, scandalise, causes you to stumble, apokopson auton, this is an aorist imperative, the son ending combining with the kopt, forming a psi. So let him cut it off. So if your hand offends you, cut it off. It is good for you, es elthen, to enter into life. Kulon, now kulos is a word meaning crippled. It's a classical word, it's in Aristophanes. Crippled. Then having the two hands to enter into Gehenna. Now, Gehenna is the sort of garbage dump outside of Jerusalem, and it becomes a metaphor for hell. Into the fire, the unquenchable one. So under the unquenchable fire. And again, there's variant readings here. And if your foot causes you to stumble, apokopson auton, cut it off. It is good for you to enter into life lame. Then, having the two hands, blethenai, to be thrown, this is the aorist passive infinitive, into Gehenna. And we get variation here between, here it was apelthane and here we get blethenai, a bit of variation, but the basic structure is the same in all of these sentences. And if your eye causes you to stumble, ekbala auton, literally cast it out. It is good for you to enter into the kingdom of God, monophthalmon, with one eye. Then, having two eyes, this participle here of course, to be thrown, so it's the same structure up here, to be cast into Gehenna. Hopu, skolax. Now, skolax, of course, is a worm, and so skolax is a worm. So wherever the worm of them does not die, and the fire is not quenched. So this is really a partial quotation. It's not word for word, it's a quotation really from Isaiah 66:24 here. So where the worm of them, where their worm does not die. Telutao is the verb here, and the fire is not quenched. Pascha Puri. Now this next section is very, very odd, and it's often not, I don't think, dealt with particularly well in some of the commentaries. Pascha, literally for everyone, halis thesatai, from halisdamai, this is to salt, so everyone, this is the future passive, will be salted with fire. The verse is obscure and there are variant readings. The thing that seems to be linking these funny little sayings together are sort of catchwords. So he's talked about here, back here he talked about where the fire is not quenched, and that's connected with the next verse with the mention of fire again. For everyone will be salted by fire. Not clear what that means. And again, now this next verse is connecting, the catchword is salt. Kalon tohalas. Tohalas is third declension noun. The classical form of this is just hals, is the normal word for salt in classical Greek. This is a variant of this, so it's tohalas. So salt is good. We get our word salt, of course. In Latin, this is just sal. So salt is good. And if the salt might become unalon, so this is alpha privative plus the linking nu with the halos, become unsalty. In tini, in what way? Artusete. This is a very, again, odd use of the word here. It means something like restored. So in what way will you restore it? Will you make it artios? Will you make it right? And then connected again with this idea of salt, you have salt in yourselves and hure nuete, be at peace among one another. These are very, very funny verses, and it's not clear what they mean or how they're connected. There may be a little linguistic pun going on here that is not so obvious. If you, as I mentioned, the word for salt in Latin is sal. The word for salt in Latin is sal. The word for peace in Hebrew is, of course, I'll just write it in English script, is shalom. And there may be a verbal pun here, which is why he's introduced this peace. So be at peace among yourselves. So shalom among yourselves. And then we've got this sal, Latin for hals earlier. And by the way, that hala there is from this hals, not the tohalas. So he's using two different words for salt here, in fact, as well. So that's really all I can say about that. The commentators try and make sense of it, and it's not clear what these are. They seem to be little phrases linked with catchwords and verbal puns, the sal rhyming with shalom, which would be behind this ere nuete of being in peace. Anyway, that's the end of chapter 9.